What's going on, guys? This is a video from the TMR record store from this angle. I don't think I've done one of these yet. And it's a video I've wanted to make for a while. And what I didn't account for is that there are cars whizzing past constantly on the busy street in front of the store. So this video hopefully comes out and is able to be heard. If not, but let's see what happens. These are some random thoughts that I've had for running a record store for 2 months. It's my first ever business, first ever time running a record store, and it's an entirely new experience for me. And I gotta say, I'm loving it, and I have a lot of interesting kind of little tidbits I've taken away. I've probably forgotten a ton of things I want to talk about, so there might be a part 2 of this eventually, maybe after 6 months or 4 months. I don't know, we'll see. If you guys like this, I'll do more, but here are some just general musings. The first thing I want to say is that I am listening to my records at home less, which I guess makes sense if you think about it, but it's not something I ever thought about prior to opening the store. So at the store, I only spin vinyl, right? So I'm spinning vinyl all day. You know, if I'm here for 5 hours or 8 hours, that's a lot of albums you go through. And when I get home after a long day at the store, I don't really want to sit around and listen to records. That's what I've been doing all day. I want to maybe watch TV or play a game or, you know, hang out with my friends, do something that's a little different than what I've just been doing, which is really weird in contrast to the idea that I have this 3,000 piece record collection at home that I love and it means a lot to me, but not listening to it and not getting through the backlog that is constantly growing, to be honest, is a little bit of a weird adjustment. It doesn't mean that I'm not listening to records, because I still do, especially like in the mornings before I get ready to go. But it's just a weird feeling to go home, and usually when I was working from home at my other job, I would listen to records as kind of like, you know, background during the day, or when I had some breaks, I would go and put an album on that I wanted to hear. You know, at the end of the day, it's a nice way to unwind, and now it almost feels crazy to listen to records for 8 hours a day and then go home and be like, I'm gonna go spin a record real quick. So that has been an interesting adjustment, and it is actually kind of changing the way I view my record collection in terms of justifying it being as large as it is and things like that. So I'm starting to warm up to the idea of, you know, trickling more over time from my collection into the store than I originally had thought, just because having the store being such a huge part of my life is kind of changing my schedule and my relationship with vinyl in general. So a lot of kind of mind tricks happening there. Number 2 is that listening to music in the store and discovering it has been an absolute joy. Something that you guys might follow this channel for is the fact that with modern music especially, I can be quite encyclopedic, and I get people all the time be like, how do you know so much about all of these bands and artists? And it's something that I pride myself on. It's one of my, you know, things I love to talk about. It's a strength of my knowledge when it comes to pop culture. I love music, and I love talking about the intricacies of different artists and genres and albums. And it usually is limited to modern music from the 90s and onward. And I know a ton of stuff that I love from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, but it's definitely a weaker point in my knowledge because despite what anyone says, no one can know it all. There's just far too much music out there. And the exciting part for me as a music fan is getting to continue to discover new artists, whether they're from the 60s or from now, that you love and appreciate. And in the store, I have such a good time going around to the bins and pulling out a record that, oh, I've heard of this, I've never listened to it, or, oh, this cover looks really crazy, let's listen to it, putting it on and being like, wow, this is incredible. I love this. I would have never discovered this had the record not found its way into the shop. So I have discovered a slew of new records, which has been lovely, and I actually have a whole bunch selected that I've especially loved. I'm gonna do another video at some point where I'm gonna kind of show you guys some of my selects from the first couple months of albums that I discovered by chance listening to them in the store, which I think you guys will really appreciate. But yeah, definitely a perk of the job. Number 3 is buying collections is a very interesting dance. A lot of the times I've been able to buy collections and, you know, get a price that's fair for both parties because I was able to connect with people. I was able to talk to them about their history with those records, or, you know, kind of learn more about them and the music they love, and, you know, what their records meant to them in the past and maybe don't anymore. It's really fascinating as like a sociological kind of study to kind of understand why people had these records, what they meant to them, and then, you know, they're ready to move on and pass them on to somewhere else because they're not really listening to them. It's a huge exercise in having a good personality and being personable, and it blows my mind because there's such a trope of record store owners or record dealers or record people at record shows being really aggressive and kind of grumpy, and I have such a hard time imagining those kind of people really thriving when they buy collections, because everyone I've bought collections from thus far, I feel like I've built a really good connection with before we we seal the deal. And I think that helps all parties feel better about what happens, you know, in terms of what they get paid, what I end up paying. And I think it's just a better experience than something that feels very transactionary. So maybe that's just me, but it's kind of an interesting dance that I'm still learning how to do. Number 4, there will always be people that talk crap. I've experienced this for a long time, being a figurehead of sorts on the internet in this community. Over the years, lots of people leaving real mean comments, lots of people in forums on the side, referencing my channel, mocking me, whatever it may be. You have to grow a bit of a thick skin to be able to put up with it, because the larger you get, no matter what industry you're in online, the more hate will pile up, because on the internet, everyone loves to have an opinion, everyone loves to have a negative opinion, because it kind of hits that dopamine and gets you like excited to be able to like hate and then have someone else be like, yeah, I agree, I hate that person. It's a really terrible thing when if you break it down. The psychology behind it's really messed up, but that's kind of what the internet is. It's just this echo chamber of love, echo chamber of hate, and it repeats ad nauseum. But yeah, like I have a couple Yelp reviews that are fairly negative. One of them took like a personal pot shot at me, like as my personality. I don't even know if this is a real person that came in or just someone that doesn't like my channel. And then the thing that kind of disturbed me the most was, I think I was like open for 2-3 weeks, and some guy came in and he told me, hey, I was watching this live stream on between these 3 vinyl YouTubers, and they were just ripping your store apart, laughing at the layout, laughing at the design, at your concept of curating records, and they're talking for like 20-30 minutes. And the stream was gone. It wasn't put up, so I couldn't watch it. But one of the people in that group was a pretty respected YouTuber in the vinyl and music scene. It just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I was just like, I'm trying to do something here, and this is my first time owning a business. This is my first time trying to, build something by myself. And it's a work in progress. As you can see, I'm adding things, different lighting, different accoutrement to the store, trying to make it feel more lived in and homey. And to immediately just go on and start mocking somebody for how a store looks a couple weeks in, just seems really petty. And that's not the part of the community that I love. I love the people that want everyone to succeed. I'm that person. I love when more vinyl channels pop up. I love when other people are doing cool things. And I think that should be a major pillar of the vinyl community. And unfortunately, there's always going to be people that hate. And that's probably an entirely different video worth of philosophy and thoughts. But it's just interesting to know that no matter what you do, you can do your best, you can do a mediocre job. Either way, someone's gonna poke holes. And that's just the way of the world. Number 5, the regulars that have come into my store are incredible people. I have made so many friends in the past 2 months of just people who have come to the store multiple times, really started to build personal relationships with them. And it's such a joy to see them come back week after week, knowing that they are approving and excited about what I'm doing and what I'm building here. And it's just such a nice feeling knowing that it's not just like, random strangers coming in, maybe buying a couple records and then never coming back. Seeing people come back is kind of what makes this worth it. It's like, okay, maybe I am doing something right. Maybe I'm on the right track. And I've also been very lucky to have a lot of generous people that have helped me out in various ways through the shop, whether it be, hey, I found these lamps that might be good for the store, or just like giving me advice on, oh, maybe you should try this for a different layout, or this in the corner. And I really appreciate that, because I am kind of tackling this on my own for the most part, and it's nice to get feedback. And that feeds into number 6, which is, this is a lot of work. I knew it would be. Obviously, I'm not an idiot. I knew that starting a small business, especially in 2022, is a lot of work. I just didn't realize quite how much it would be. I mean, I am here all the time, and people still are criticizing the hours. Some people are saying I'm not open long enough on Wednesdays through Fridays, which could change down the road. But even on my Mondays and Tuesdays, which are off, I'm still working. I'm working massive hours every week, because I'm driving 45 minutes to look at collections, or I'm at the store trying to price some stuff, or I'm here trying to work on the lighting, or hang stuff, or whatever it may be. There's never really any downtime. And I know over time that'll probably change, and maybe there'll be more people involved with day-to-day stuff, which will give me more free time. It's interesting to kind of go from working like a normal job, where you have your set hours and then you're kind of free outside of that, to having something where it's like, I am now my own boss, and I can kind of determine the trajectory of how much I want to work or how little I want to work. And it's nice being your own boss. I feel like I've never had that experience before. And any of my failures are on me. It's because I didn't do something right, or I didn't put enough time into it. So it's nice to be able to hold myself accountable for things that I think could be done better in order to continue to grow as a business owner. And number 7, the final point for this video, is that pricing takes forever, and it's so subjective. It's so interesting kind of figuring out how to price records for the store, because you don't want to price them so low that you're not making enough money to stay open, because as a store, you have overhead, you have rent, etc. And if you price them too high, people are going to say, ooh, these prices are high, and they're not going to come back. So you have to find that sweet spot where you're still the cheapest available online, but you're not underpricing so much that you can't afford to stay open and eventually pay yourself, right? That is such a tricky world to live in the middle of, and I think I've done a pretty good job so far. I have had a number of people come in and say, hey, I think your prices are really great, completely unprompted, which is awesome. I'm sure some people have left being like, oof, you know, these are kind of high. And that's because in general, vinyl's expensive these days, man. Like, if you look at the aftermarket for records, it has exploded in the past 2 years. Like, ridiculous levels of, you know, 3x, 4x pricing that happen very quickly. And, you know, not all of it is justified, but if things start getting purchased for that on a regular basis, that unfortunately becomes the market value. And I try to price below that, but it's still higher than a lot of people expect. All my walls, everything is over 60 bucks on the walls because these are the rare walls. That's the rare collectibles aspect of the store. The bins, you know, between 10 and, you know, $30, $40, depending on the record. It's interesting to think about Discogs prices versus small store prices versus large store prices. And it's just like, it's such a weird world to wrap your head around. For example, if you buy on Discogs, they don't usually, unless they're a store, have any overhead. So all that money goes directly to them. So they can afford to price things below what someone like me could afford to in the store, because I have all these bills to pay to be able to stay open and provide hopefully a service of, you know, live music for local artists and things like that, trying to build a community within this town in the amazing music community that already exists. Large stores, Amoeba, you know, Music Millennium, these big stores, they have a huge production. They have tons of staff members, they get tons and tons of records in. So they can also afford to price cheaper than a small store like my own store, some of the other stores I've highlighted in the past on this channel, because it's just a different kind of way that they view inventory. They get different amounts of inventory, and it's just kind of like more of a churn and burn for them, I think. So it's interesting to think, okay, well, you know, if someone's like, oh, your prices are about the same as Discogs for anything in the store, it's like, okay, but I feel like that dollar is better allocated to a local business than it is some stranger on the internet. But perhaps I'm biased now. Although I will say that I always did try to support local whenever I could before owning a store anyway. So now I'm just seeing it on the personal level from the flip side of the coin. So a lot of interesting thoughts. I'm still kind of evolving how I do things, and the store is still obviously in this like growth stage right now, and I'm really excited to see the continuing aspects of design that happen over the next few months as I continue to get new inventory in and continue to expand the events that we do here. I'm really excited for the future of this. This is something that has been a dream of mine for a very long time, and it's been a lot of work so far, but it's also been extremely rewarding. And I'm extremely grateful that the community has welcomed me in such a nice way. So many different store owners from the area have come in or emailed me and, you know, checked out the store, purchased something, congratulated me, whatever it may be. It really makes me feel like I'm becoming part of this already well-established, fantastic record community here in Oregon. So thank you guys for watching this video. If you have any thoughts on any of the things I shared in this video, I'd love to hear what you think. Otherwise, look forward to that next video where I'll be showing off some of the records that I have discovered by chance through running the store. So thank you guys so much for watching. I gotta open up soon. So hopefully it's a busy day at Too Many Records. Take it easy, guys.